I'm Ashley Lambrix. My co-founder, Lindsay Michaelides, could not be here today. For those of you who were not here when we first started together, she is currently 8 months pregnant with identical twin girls. These are numbers 3 and 4 for her. And so she has many doctor's appointments, and one got moved from Friday to today. So she's sorry that she couldn't be here. By way of background, and we'll talk a little bit about this in the pitch, Lindsay and I are both management consultants by training. I spent a number of years at the Boston Consulting Group. She spent a number of years at McKinsey, and we met about 3 years ago when we both took in-house roles on the corporate strategy side at Ohio Health, which is where we met. We became fast friends and colleagues, and really started incubating the idea for Speedwell and Yarrow in the fall of 2017. And the concept, will kind of go into this, but it was largely an outgrowth of our own experiences as working mothers in dual career households, trying to manage the challenges of having busy careers and busy family lives. So without further ado, I'll kind of get into it, but this should be pretty short, and then I'd love to get into questions. I kind of find the conversation aspect more interesting. So I'm co-founder of Speedwell and Yarrow is our company, by the way. Hit on that. So I am co-founder and COO of Speedwell and Yarrow. So last summer, before we had even built a single thing, Lindsay and I went out into the world with an idea that we knew could save companies lots of money, help them better retain and engage their top talent, and increase the diversity of their leadership pipelines within their organizations. And after only 4 conversations, we closed 2 paid pilots with enterprise customers, totaling more than $50,000 in paid upfront revenue. At Speedwell and Yarrow, we've built a smart, scalable family concierge to help employers' high-potential talent better manage the craziness that is their lives. So this is Kate. Kate is an ace litigator at a law firm with 400 attorneys across the eastern United States. She's also a married mother of 3. Last year, she won the biggest product liability case her client and firm has ever tried. But this win came at great personal expense for her. She missed scheduling her annual family photos, forgot to order clothes for her kids' holiday recital, and completely overlooked her husband's 40th birthday. The result is that Kate made the difficult decision to leave the job and the firm that she loved to take an in-house role that she hoped would be more sustainable. This is a huge loss for Kate, but it is an even bigger loss for her employer. So in this case, Kate's departure will cost her employer 200% of her annual salary, or in this case, $400,000. What's more, Kate's story isn't unique. So more than 40% of highly qualified mid-career female executives leave the workforce or downshift in their careers after having children. And this talent will cost employers more than $100 billion this year alone. This doesn't even begin to account for the additional $100 billion in annual productivity losses that employers incur as professionals like Kate try to juggle the craziness of a busy career and a busy family life and the growing demands in both domains. So at Speedwell and Yarrow, we've really aimed to create a solution to stop the brain drain. So let's pretend for a second that Kate's employer offered Speedwell and Yarrow. We pair data science with real humans to get to know our members and anticipate their needs before they ever need to ask for help. So in Kate's case, we know Kate. We know her family and their preferences and their pain points. We know that the holiday recital is coming up and offer to help before Kate even knows she needs it. And this video, unfortunately, isn't playing. Well, I will go back and play the video if anyone's interested at some point in time. We know that the holiday recital is coming up. We have made arrangements for her husband's birthday, and provided unique trip recommendations and taken care of all of the arrangements on her behalf. So next, we will provide Kate with clothing options for the holiday recital from brands she loves in her kids' sizes, and we'll even make all of those purchases and send them to her, send them directly to her. So with all of this taken care of, Kate is able to focus her time and her mind share, both while she's at work, including when she's doing her morning commute, to think about how to nail her upcoming litigation rather than worrying about, the kids' holiday recital. The goal at Speedwell and Yarrow is to strap a rocket booster on professionals like Kate and provide her employer with increased retention, engagement, and productivity. And the results of our first paid pilots prove this. So in the case of Kate, rather than spending 6 figures on a search firm to replace Kate, for only $500 per employee member per month, employers can provide high potential employees like Kate with the leverage they need to stay on top of things at home so that they can continue to crush it at work. We're initially focused on profitably serving the employers of the 10 million working parent professionals making over $100,000 a year, with a near-term focus on professional service firms and talent-driven Fortune 500 companies. And from there, enhanced machine learning and automation will allow us to grow our reach, productize, and grow to serve an even larger number of working parents, and increase our profitability from the 35% gross margins that we achieved in our initial pilots. So, as former management consultants with McKinsey and BCG and working moms in dual career households, we understand firsthand the challenges that face both employers and the high potential talent that they are seeking to retain. So we're on a mission to change the future of work and life, not only for ourselves, but for our friends and colleagues and for our daughters and sons, so that they can go on to have successful careers and successful family lives. So that is all I had prepared from a pitch perspective. I would say the video, I'm disappointed that did not play. I'm not quite sure why. It didn't play. Let me see if I can just go in here and show you what you missed. It's short.
It's still downloading. What are you streaming it from, like YouTube or?
No, I would say this one's actually embedded. Well, we'll try this a different way. While I'm figuring that out, what questions do you all have? Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about the tech and the platform? Is it you guys on the back end taking the information, aggregating it, and deciding for them? Is there a machine learning / chatbot type situation that's going on in the back that can make decisions already? I get that you're probably moving towards that with scalability issues. Where kind of are you on that process? Yeah, so, well, now that it's going back into presentation mode, it won't do it. I can play it on my screen. Sorry about that. Great question. So, when we went out last summer to sell these initial pilots, we hadn't built a single thing. I mean, we had nothing. We had an idea. Then we sold it, and we're like, okay, we need to build. And neither one of us come from technical backgrounds in terms of our.
Is it playing now?
Oh, there we go. All I needed to do was stop talking. Yeah, now it's playing. So that I would say that takes you through some of it, and then there's the the actual let's try that. See if no. Okay, I'm done with this.
Technology.
Yeah, technology. Gosh. So our initial build approach was super lean. We said let's take off the shelf tools and stitch them together with APIs where we can, and where we can't, let's just put in the process where a human is doing that work or a manual process in its place. We laid out kind of the initial logic framework and the initial database structure to help us collect the information that we needed to do. Our business is for machine learning to really be effective, you need to have lots and lots of data, which we're not there yet. But I would say the foundation and the building blocks of the data science is using the data that we do have to start archetyping both individuals and product and service recommendations so that we can continue to do that matching more efficiently and lower our cost to serve. So we're actually right now building the second version of our platform, which takes some of the learning from that initial set of pilots and really kind of surgically pinpointed some opportunities where we could streamline. But we have some elements that have been custom built. Big Kitty Labs is our technology partner. But I would say we're largely still taking the approach of let's keep using off-the-shelf tools where we can and stitch them together until we're really sure either what we need to build or that we absolutely have to build something custom because it just doesn't exist out there as an off-the-shelf.
Something that your software could be useful for?
Because you're taking life facts and then building up processes around them.
That's right.
So you
That's
have to
right.
know, if there's an anniversary coming up.
That's right.
You have to backdate, jump back. So this is a completely different world. It's more logistics of personal life, which.
That's right. That's right. So we collect a lot of information about individuals' lives, about the events coming up in their life, about their preferences, and then we use that information to start archetyping them, and use that as an early filter for how we think about the recommendations that we provide to them.
Wow.
So this is a two-part question, which may
Sure.
become a one-part depending on the answer.
Okay.
To the first one.
Okay.
How are you collecting that initial data?
Directly from the members. We use a survey. We use a combination of a survey tool, and then we actually do an intake interview with them as a way to double click on what we got in the survey. I think as we grow, that process will continue to get more automated, and there may be additional opportunities to pull in from other data sources in a way that's a little more hands-off for the members. But to start, we just ask them, that seems to be, and people are happy. I think part of what we've done is we've tried to be really clear about why we're asking the questions that we're asking. This is all in the aim of making sure that we can deliver solutions that actually streamline these individuals' lives. Lindsay and I both had the benefit of having access to other outsourcing solutions at our former employers. We had a concierge that you could
That's
call.
Ohio Health, right? I'm familiar with that. I was going to ask you about that. If that where you guys-
And the reality, and this is not meant to be criticism of this specific, vendor or setup, but I think in many cases, in the traditional kind of concierge or virtual assistant space, there are barriers that make it very difficult for people to use. Some of those barriers are just structural, that you still, as an individual, you still have to remember what you need help with.
Yeah.
And you need to proactively reach out, and you need to do it with enough lead time that they can actually help you. And depending on their bandwidth, they may say yeah, I understand that it's your husband's birthday tomorrow, but there's not really a lot we can do because it's tomorrow. I would say the second barrier is, in many cases, this was both in our personal experience and in a lot of the primary research that we did initially before we made the decision to launch Speedwell and Yarrow, we heard that individuals felt with those traditional vendors, they had to give such prescriptive information about what they wanted done and exactly how they wanted it done, that by the time they got through that, it was like, I could just do this faster myself. Like, I'll just do it myself. Like, this is just too hard. So we're trying to design a solution that tackles both of those barriers by being proactive and by anticipating needs before you ever have to reach out for help. We can say, hey, Steve, we know your mom's birthday is coming up next month, 6 weeks from now. Here's the ways that we think we can help you with that. Thumbs up, thumbs down. And by knowing you and knowing about your family, like with relatively little kind of intervention over time, we're able to give you recommendations that you're like, oh, yeah, you can find a birthday gift for my mom. Like, here's what I want to spend. Here's a couple data points about like what she likes. And then we go find it, and then you're like, boom, option 2, like, rock on, do it, send it to her, done, birthday, nailed. And so, like, that's the type of experience that we're looking to deliver. And over time, the more that we serve somebody, the better we get. The better that it gets over time. I mean, unsurprisingly so. Yes?
Something tells me you and your co-founder are probably aware of this, but I still assume nothing. Are you familiar personally, since you're in the room here, I'll address it to you directly, with either the Gallup or the Barman Group studies on engagement and satisfaction?
Yes.
Okay. I was sent a report from a gentleman at the Dublin Entrepreneurial Center, and I've been meaning to look through it a little more, whether more recent outputs of the data. And so that's part of the question. The other thing is that I think you'll say yes to this, is I saw the word engagement on your slide.
Yes.
So it looks like your intent is to be part of a solution to a very deep problem,
Yes.
which is a lot of people go into some sort of a career,
Yes.
but they don't realize that there's trade-offs, whether it's expected overtime that's not paid for when you're on a salary, or whether it's a time for money exchange in the legal field. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I was just wondering, A, were you aware, and B, do you see this as part of a bigger solution? And I would say yes, but I wanted to get your thoughts on it.
Yeah. So that has been, like, when we sell to employers, so right now, we sell this solution almost exclusively to employers as a talent tool. It's not a benefit, at least at this point, given the price point and the scope of service. It's not something that they kind of add to their menu to offer to their entire employee population. I think there's a path where we get there, but we sell it into HR leaders who are either the chief human resource officer, the VP of talent, sometimes the head of like diversity and inclusion, but whoever really owns the talent management agenda for an organization, and we sell it as a talent tool. It's a way for employers to invest in that top talent, so that not only can they stay, but while they stay, they can be more engaged. Because for so many individuals, and I think your point is spot on. Either they go in, maybe it's that they don't know how about those trade-offs, or they just like, you start a career when you're 22, and by the time you're 30, 32, 35, whatever it is, your career is really hitting an inflection point. You're likely, not an individual contributor anymore. You're in a management role, maybe even a senior management role. You have much more responsibilities on the career front. At the same time, your home life is getting way more complex than it was. Like, you used to think you were really busy when you were 22. You were single, and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm slammed. Like, things get really busy really quick when you are part of a dual career household, when you have children at home. And that's not to say that this solution couldn't help folks who don't have children, who have grown children, who aren't married. I mean, I think help is helpful to everyone, no matter what. That being said, when we are approaching employers, as they think about the return on their investment and where they get the most bang for their buck, it's focusing this type of tool on the individuals who are most likely to be at risk, which tends to be mostly women in dual career households. That's not exclusively the case, but certainly tends to be the majority most of the time.
It makes a lot of sense to me. My wife always complains that she needs a wife.
I would say we have heard that many times before. I mean, so much so we had someone early on say, like, why don't you just name the company wife? And I was like, yeah, I don't think that's going to work. I don't think that's...
Only for half the population.
Well, I mean...
Exactly. We need a wife.
My wife needs a wife.
I mean, I think it,
So what if my employer doesn't want to buy into this, but I think that it's a useful solution for myself?
Yeah, so we are getting ready to launch a direct-to-consumer paid beta next month in kind of limited quantity, and we're going to see how that goes. And we've had a lot of folks ask that question along the way. It's like, well, what if my employer doesn't offer and I want it? Like, how do I get it?
I was going to ask that's why.
Great question.
And I think there are a couple challenges to, and we had the benefit of going through the Techstars Anywhere program starting in February of this year. And for those of you who are not familiar with their program, you spend the first, it's like the second and third week of the program having like 20-minute mentor conversations with, I don't know, almost 100 mentors across their network. It's super intense. It's super exhausting. And this go-to-market question came up in every single one of those conversations. And I would say every single person had a very strong point of view, whether it should be B2B or B2C, and it was 50-50 split.
Well, I think the B2B model is a great idea, but I think for sure there are going to be people
There are going to be
who
people.
work for small businesses and are
Yeah.
just as busy or
Yeah.
have other situations that
Yeah,
I still think it's
and that's part of why we're testing it. I think we believe that the path to growth is through B2B, but if we can successfully run a B2C offering in parallel, then we do that in limited, like it's not something we'd necessarily be out actively marketing and trying to but like if the phone rings, we pick it up and we say, yeah, sure, we'll sell you a membership, like you're good.
I think maybe for your sake it'd be more beneficial to do like a longer term than a month to month maybe.
We've talked
For
about
B2C,
that.
just because.
Membership.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've talked about
Years
that.
ago, couple months at a time, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I think you'd have to have.
I think you're right, because I think the churn can be, given the cost that comes with onboarding and getting someone up to speed,
Well, and say
like
it's a month
monthly
where
churn.
they don't have any birthdays or something, and it's not. Maybe they think, oh, I didn't need it that month, but then the next month comes and
That's
they have
right.
everything.
That's right.
So I think if
A
you
holiday.
did
The
it,
rollover plan.
Yeah.
That's right.
You get,
That's right.
rollover.
6 hours or
Oh, that
whatever
is smart, man.
per month, but then, oh, hey, I didn't use it this
Right.
month, but now
Oh,
I've got
that is-
10 hours.
and
That is
December
brilliant.
costs more always.
Exactly, yeah.
Because think about it, October would be pretty much nothing maybe or whatever, but then the holidays.
Yeah.
I would say you'd be surprised.
Sweetest day.
I would say last October. I would say last October was when we launched our first employer pilots, and I swear every single member that we served had like 10 family birthdays in October. I was like, what is it with the month of October? Like October was lights out.
You have to think about that.
Yeah.
Never mind.
Cold winter month, baby.
Yeah. I mean, it was like it was
But that's
crazy.
the point. Like holidays like Sweetest Day that I would never think of in my life, but if
Right.
my significant other
extra
expected something,
That's right.
Like that's
That's right.
Around your holidays.
So,
That's right.
how long ago? First of all, I'd say this is so exciting for me because I have a concept that I've had for quite some time along the same lines, and it actually part of it that pushed it was my experience with Ohio Health and how they have that internal concierge. Although I felt like it was always underutilized for a reason I didn't know why.
Yeah.
And nobody really kind of seemed to pick up on it as much as I would think that they should. So my question for you is, when did you come up with a concept and you moved so quickly, right? So I guess I'll be frank, are you spending money to get that, to get all your data, to get all the studies, to get, because it sounds like you've done all this pretty quickly.
We came up, we kind of started really kicking around the concept in earnest in the fall of 2017. So the fall of 2017, I mean, honestly, it started on a walk. We were walking back from lunch. And we were, Lindsay and I were talking to each other about these challenges, like personally, like, oh, like, hey, I gotta get, stuff for the Paw Patrol birthday party. Like, do you know, what am I going to put in these goodie bags? Like, let's brainstorm. I mean, it was just a conversation between friends. And we're like, this is the problem that needs to be solved. Like, this is crazy. This is how people solve this problem today, is they go to their friends or their neighbors and they either do the work themselves or they do the work via research through their own networks to get this stuff done. And from there, we said, okay, like, if this is really a thing, like, let's just go see what's out there. And I think there was a combination of two things. One, starting in late 2017, early 2018, there was kind of a groundswell of research around this concept of the mental load, which is basically like all of the administrative responsibilities that go with managing a household. That really clog up the minds of largely women, but it's also men too. There was just a ton of research that all of a sudden started hitting like the press, and we're like, oh, this is really interesting. So we used a lot of that information initially to form the basis of the primary research that we would go do. And then we just said, all right, like, let's start talking to people. So we pulled out, our own networks. I mean, the folks who are likely to be, at least initially that we said are likely to be really prime member employees for this type of service are folks that we worked with at BCG, folks that we worked with at Ohio Health, like folks that we went to business school with. Like, let's just start calling people. Yeah. And so we talked to, I don't know, hundreds of people, and just ask them, like, does this problem resonate with you? What's on your to-do list? Like, what's all the stuff? Yeah. What's dragging you down? And so we did a bunch of primary research starting in the fall of 2017 and got to a place by early 2018 where we're like, you know what, there's really something here. Like, there is really, really something here. Like, let's just, if we don't do it now, it's never going to happen. So, like, let's just do it. So we officially left our roles at Ohio Health in March of last year, and then just said we're going to like do this full time. Yes, we've been moving quickly, but we also, like all entrepreneurs, like gave up a lot. The opportunity cost is super high, so we said if we're going to do this, like, we got to pedal to the metal. Like, we got to go. Like, this isn't, this isn't a hobby business.
So, part two of my question.
Yes.
and let me qualify it here. So, my company is structurally set up exactly the same as yours, right? We started off B2C, realized that was a bad one, started going B2B. It's a different vertical, but I'm seeing a lot of parallels here. The one that stands out the most, and the one I'd like to talk about now, maybe we can talk about the other over a Zoom session,
sure,
the other part, whatever, is reducing the barrier to entry for the data input, right? Like, making that smooth.
Yeah.
The concierge service, it's there. People that know about it, that are that minded,
yep.
They're going to do it. But there's the hand holding that's needed for folks that don't have the awareness, right? It's
yep.
the education piece.
Yep.
And you've got to prove the concept. You've got to have the organic, hey, I'm doing this thing, you should jump on it, type of social media virality type deal, right? So in that, I'm thinking, and this may already be on you guys, scope. You might be looking at this, but integration with in-place systems like TriNet or this or that or other resources that HR departments or talent departments are already using, and they already have data. And maybe it's in a couple of disparate platforms, but the internal in our company phrase for yada, yet another damn dashboard.
Yeah.
It's a thing, right?
Yeah.
And so you mentioned APIs, and I'm not a full stack developer, but is this something you guys are talking about, being able to pull information to kind of like boost that initial onboarding, to do some things, programmatically that are giving results to the end user, to make them want to then dig deeper and start feeding more information into the piece?
It's certainly something we've talked about. It's not on kind of the near-term roadmap, and You know, I think part of it is we have had good success getting folks to just give us the information themselves. And I would say like one nuance here that may be specific to our business versus, you know, versus yours is like in this case, the employers are sponsoring the service for these employees, but from a data perspective, there is a very strict divide. So what we say to the employers is we report back on, you know, when we start working with a new employer, we align on a set of metrics for success of the program overall, and there are things around engagement, you know, which are leading indicators of retention. There's some information on ROI, which is calculated a little bit differently depending on the employer context. We align on those metrics, but we also say that we're only going to report on those metrics to the employer in the aggregate for the pool that they're sponsoring. So this is not like spy on your employees and figure out like who's using this service for what, when, and like we try to be, I mean, it is in our contract to the employers, it is in our user agreements to the members, and so, you know, is there an opportunity to tie into other data sources out there that our members use that would lighten kind of the load for them in terms of the information they have to give? Yes. Is there a world where we're plugging into existing employer tools? Probably not, just because of the way that break. I will also say, like, employers are not super keen on, like, having outside companies access their data in any way, shape, or form. I mean, they're just not, like, we get a lot of questions from our employee members that say, well, can I just, like, share my calendar? I'm like, no. You can't. I mean, your personal calendar, sure, but like no, you can't. Your employer's not going to let you do that. And like, if they even knew that we were having this conversation, like we'd be getting a phone call. So like, no, you know, like just. I mean, so I think there's a lot of limitations there. You know, again, I think it's about being like really transparent about like what data you're asking for what, and we're always trying to streamline. Like I think as we continue to build out as we continue to like advance the data science piece, like we will get better at being able to ask for fewer data points to get to the same, you know, to get to the same end game. Right now we need a lot of information. In the future we'll need less.
So what's the pricing model? Is it monthly recurring per?
Yeah, so it's expensive. It is $500 per employee member per month for employers to sponsor, which is why part of how we sell this in is like this is a talent tool for your rising leaders within your organization. So we typically find that in the corporate context, like director, senior director, rising VP, early VPs, it tends to be kind of a sweet spot of where employers think about deploying something like this. In the professional services context, it is also similar. Like we have a law firm that we've worked with that said we're going to give this to folks to attorneys who have been with the firm at least 3 years but are not yet equity partners. The thought being like by the time you're an equity partner, one, you can probably afford to go out and get any kind of help that you need, and two, like the economics from the employer's perspective about your likelihood to leave and what that would cost them, just like the math changes completely. So it's expensive because the scope of services is super broad. Like we said, we're not going to limit it. Like we're trying to help people. I mean, there are hard limits. Like all of the work that we do, all of the support we do is support that can be provided virtually. So like we always give the example, like we're not going to come to your house and pick up your dry cleaning. But if like dry cleaning is really the sticky wicket for you, and like that's the thing that's like driving you mad, what we will do is we will find a dry cleaner that offers free pickup and delivery, and we'll sign you up for it, and like boom, it's done. So there are limits, but what we also didn't want to do is have people feel like they're being put on the clock with respect to like, ooh, like is this gonna cost me 20 minutes of my balance? Like I only, and have people try to make those like that's one more thing as an employee you have to think about. which I think, to bring it back to the conversation we were having about the go-to-market approach, I think one of the questions we have around like the B2C, the direct-to-consumer path is, are we going to be limited by the heuristics and biases that people have in calculating the value of their own time?
Getting here at 9:30.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Are people going to have a hard time? People always, I shouldn't say always, it is not uncommon for people to undervalue their time and underestimate how long it's going to take them to do something. So it's like, ooh, this is only going to take me 20 minutes. Like, I'm not going to use Speedwell and Yarrow for this because it's only going to take me 20 minutes. And I think that mental math starts to get a little sticky in the direct-to-consumer
Nothing
world.
else is going on, but there's always something.
That's
going
right.
on.
That's right. That's
I
right.
just want to say that I love your laptop. I don't normally like laptops.
Oh, thank
Hopefully it
you.
worked for-
Thank
That
you.
looks pretty good.